As a kid, I spent most of my time playing video games. From Petz Catz 2 on the PlayStation 2 to Animal Jam and Mushy Monsters on the PC, I was always looking for the next virtual world to waste time in. And this wasn't just at home, oh no. Me and my friends in the computer labs would constantly search for game websites where we could dither away our childhood and squander the opportunity to learn. Most of these websites were called like games.32.to and were filled with viruses and barely functional monster truck races, but it was enough. At least until a little website called GirlsGoGames came along. If you were a child of the 2000s, you probably know GirlsGoGames and may even have fond memories of the site. I wanted to revisit this nostalgic childhood favorite of mine, so today let's discuss the history, the rise, and the fall of GirlsGoGames.com. Also, I just really quickly wanted to mention, not to be annoying, but I do have merch. I actually advertised it a while ago, but it only just actually arrived for me because of custom stuff, so yeah, I have merch. This is one of my hoodies. It's got a little unlicensed orange cat on there. I also have this hat that says Tumblr Sexy Man. So if you want to be a Tumblr Sexy Man, you can buy this hat and just let the world know your true self. If you guys want to check it out, I would very much appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Before we get into things, I'd just like to give a huge thank you to Casetify for sponsoring this video. I literally can't tell you guys how excited I am to be working with Casetify. If you didn't know, they make super cool, super customizable, and most importantly, super tough phone cases. I got two really cool designs from their huge range, this sort of checkerboard print here, since I know that's in at the moment, and this one that I already have on my phone now. I really love this design, plus I never lose my phone because it's literally bright neon green. But don't let Casetify's hundreds of super cool designs stop you or anything, because you can literally customize your very own case. You can choose from a huge range of styles and colors and even add your own name or monogram to the back. Leather, neon sand, mirror, the options are endless. I got some custom cases here. As you can see, this one is bright green and has Bingus written on the back, and this one is sort of like a neon sand sort of deal and has Garfield written on the back, obviously. Not only are Casetify's cases very aesthetically pleasing, but they have an antimicrobial coating which kills 99% of bacteria, and they're incredibly tough. Casetify cases are engineered with a two-layer construction of Chi-Tech, which is basically these little bumpers sort of around the phone case. They're drop test approved for drops of up to 6.6 feet with their impact cases and 9.8 feet for their ultra impact cases. How high is that? I don't know, I'm not American and I don't know what a foot is, but let's test it out. Not a scratch, you can literally see the script I'm reading right there. Very meta. And if all that wasn't good enough, you'll be helping the planet because Casetify's impact cases are made from 50% recycled material. Whether you're looking to get the new iPhone and you want to protect it, or you're just looking to protect your current phone, Casetify is there for you. Head to casetify.com/Izzy today to get 15% off. Once again, that's casetify.com/Izzy for 15% off. The link will be in the description. Thank you so much to Casetify for sponsoring me. I'm genuinely in love with the cases I have, and you should genuinely just go check out their huge range. The designs are really cool and I'm kind of obsessed with them, so thank you so much for sponsoring me. And now let's get on to the story of GirlsGoGames. GirlsGoGames is an online website with hundreds of browser games targeted at tween and young teenage girls, generally from around 8 to 14. With its sparkly pink visuals and plethora of horse riding, cooking, and dress-up games, it provided a safe haven for young girl gamers in the mid-2000s who often didn't really feel welcome in the online gaming community. Now, I just want to make it clear, I'm going to be saying girls a lot in this video, but I know that girls aren't the only people who play these games. Gender is a complex and nuanced thing. If you played with and identified with these games, you're included in this discussion even if you don't identify as a girl, and if you didn't play this game, just know that girls were the primary demographic but not the only demographic. Alright, let's move on. GirlsGoGames was created by Spill Games, previously known as the Spill Group. They're a game company from the Netherlands who manage multiple other popular kids gaming websites known as portals, including Games, A Game, and A10. Yeah, these guys were behind a lot of those poorly made monster truck game compilation websites I was talking about earlier. And with over 130 million unique unique visitors monthly as of 2011, Spill Games had quite the monopoly on tween gaming. Those guys had clearly been practicing with some of them tycoon games. Believe it or not, the history of GirlsGoGames itself is buried in mystery with very little information publicly available. We can place its launch date in early October of 2007, since that's when it first began appearing on both the Wayback Machine and Spill's website. They'd been posting reports and statistics about women in gaming for a while in the lead up to the launch of GirlsGoGames, so it was clear that they'd begun to ponder that ever perplexing question: are women gamers real? It seems impossible, but historically the answer is yes. It may seem like a relic of the past now, but in the 90s the idea that a woman could enjoy playing video games was kind of ludicrous to a lot of gamers, and even entertaining the idea was kinda laughable. This was despite the fact that women had played a huge role in early arcade and console game development, like Carol Shaw, Donna Bailey, and Roberta Williams, all legends in their own right. Despite being brushed off, research showed that women were still playing games, big shocker, and it turns out that they weren't a burden on the video game community, but instead an untapped market. This is when video games specifically targeted towards women, or more specifically young teens and tweens, began coming out. From Purple Moon's Rocket series to Barbie CD-ROMs to this weird Babysitter's Club House of Nightmares, very stereotypically girl-centric games were becoming more common. In the lead up to GirlsGoGames' launch, more modernized web games were already starting to come out, for example Star Doll, which launched in 2004. GirlsGoGames was one of the first, or at least the most successful, early Portal-style websites that compiled all of the games in one place. Naturally, it flourished, not only providing a place for girls to play a wide variety of games, but helping to create an atmosphere of acceptance for girls who didn't feel welcome in the kinda hostile gaming landscape. GirlsGoGames did a lot for girl gaming in the 2000s, and weirdly were kind of pioneers in their field, but they also did a lot to regress the idea of girl gaming. We'll get to that in a bit when we cover the website's content in more depth, but first let's look at their 2012 report on the state of online gaming among tween girls in the US. From what I understand, this report was one of the first of its kind, since Spill Games were one of the only companies in the world running a website with millions of tween girls as their player base. Kind of the perfect data group for this kind of report. This report and the data inside were very important and groundbreaking at the time, but now looking back, it's kinda hilarious. The amount of time tween girls spend playing games per month has more than doubled over the last year, from 38 minutes a month to 1 hour and 18 minutes. 1 hour and 18 minutes a month. Let me tell you, in 2012 I was playing for 1 hour 18 minutes times 4 per day. Maybe I had a problem. The three most popular gaming categories for tween girls are cooking, dress up, and test and quiz. We'll touch on these later on. As of 2012, GirlsGoGames was actually more popular than Club Penguin and was the #1 most popular website for tween girls in the US. At the time, celebrity dress-up games was super popular, and in the report they compiled the most 2012 list of top celebrities like ever. I remember horrifying Justin Bieber dress-up games were everywhere back then. Did girls really enjoy this? And lastly, of course, you have the pie graph where iPod Touches outrank iPhones in popularity. What a time to be alive. It's also worth noting that this report came at the very height of the website's popularity, with searches taking a really sharp drop only a few months after it hit its peak and slowly tapering out to where it is today. I have no idea what caused this, but ultimately, despite how it looks, the website still remained super popular throughout the early 2010s. GirlsGoGames was host to a wide variety of different games, from interior decoration to cooking to Brad Pitt makeup. Before we dive into the games, I just really quickly want to mention these three. They're the Y2K icons of GirlsGoGames and kind of served as the mascots, as well as featuring in a few games here and there. Apparently their names are Gabriella, Grace, and Gwen, and it turns out Grace used to have pink hair. They actually have quite a few fans out there, and I was able to find quite a decent amount of fan art for them. Just a bit of deep lore for the hardcore fans. Anyway, let's talk games. I'm going to split them up into categories to give you an idea of the types of genres available on the site, as well as touch on some of the classic games. Now, makeover and dress up are actually two very different genres of game, but they both focus around beauty, so I've lumped them into one. Makeover games generally focus on turning an ugly, wretched beast of a woman with 2 whole pimples into a stunning beauty. Usually the games are just a PNG of a lady's face onto which you click and drag tweezers and scrubbers and creams which fix it all up, just like real life. Then you move on to the makeup section. Most games, since the site tends to go for quantity over quality, are just carbon copies of each other with slightly varying shades of lipstick and eyeshadow, and very limited options at that. Sometimes after that you'll get to move on to a dress up stage where you can customize outfits and hair. Most of the time these games will have a little narrative, either she got dumped and is now a wreck that you have to fix, or she's the ugly, downtrodden nerd girl that you gotta make popular. So it's kinda hard to talk about Girls Go Games without acknowledging the uncomfortable themes underlying a lot of their games. I mentioned earlier that the site did a lot to kind of normalize and integrate tween girls into the online gaming space, but the online gaming space that they created was kind of toxic, for lack of a better word. The site was filled with games focusing on beauty and fashion and makeup, often set up around a framework of turning a quote ugly girl into a quote pretty one. Acne, scars, and body hair be damned. Most of the dress ups on the site centered around thin, white Instagram model looking characters, and the skin tone selection is absolutely abysmal in most of these games. It's reductive to say this site is bad because it caters to girls with makeup and the color pink and babies and pet care, but it's also reductive to ignore the heavy stereotyping going on, as well as the lack of diversity and the fixation on ugliness versus beauty. There's no doubt that kids, including myself, genuinely enjoyed the site and didn't see anything wrong with it at the time, but in hindsight many people feel uncomfortable at the types of messages that were being conveyed. I'm not trying to cancel Girls Go Games. The site has been around for well over a decade, and I don't think anyone was expecting them to be revolutionary paragons for women, but these elements are still worth pointing out. Now on to dress up games. These games generally consist of 1 to 3 characters that you can dress up in different outfits, hairstyles, and accessories. These dress up games can actually be super in depth with complex character customization that can result in really unique characters. A site that specializes in these is Azalea's Dolls. Girls Go Games, on the other hand, has a few of these, but cheaply made and extremely basic dress ups of licensed characters under a knockoff name as to not get sued are far more common. The website is absolutely flooded with bootleg Disney princess dress up games, with Frozen being the most popular by far. Look, it's totally not Elsa. Look, it's totally not Ariel. Look, it's a Pet Sematary version of Miraculous Ladybug. What's worse is that most of the art in these games is blatantly cut out or traced from stock photos or pre-existing promotional art, just in case you thought that any element of this was original. These bootleg licensed character games can be found all over the site, not just in the dress up section. They're common in pretty much every other genre, and it's safe to say that Girls Go Games have basically made their fortune off the back of the Frozen franchise. But it's not all cynical. There were some certified dress up classics like the Shopaholic series. Unlike a large chunk of the games on the site, which were submitted and sourced from other developers, the Shopaholic games were an original series made by Spill Games. Pick a model, get a daily allowance, and buy clothes. It's really that simple. You could choose to work jobs for 30 minutes to an hour for extra cash, which I'm assuming they were hoping would get kids off the computer, but most of us just left the tab running and went to play Neopets instead. It's interesting to track not only fashion trends but art and aesthetic trends over the years through Girls Go Games. While nowadays it's mostly highly rendered Uncanny Valley bootleg characters, it wasn't always this way. Back in 2007 when the site launched, this sort of faux anime doll look was very popular, and the fashion in-game reflected real fashion trends of the time. By the time the 2010s rolled around, more edgy dress-ups were introduced, reflecting a transition from demure and dainty styles to more bold and cutting-edge ones, and also whatever this is. And by 2015, the horrifying Disney princesses had already infested the site. Some other popular games from these categories include literally any Monster High or humanized My Little Pony dress up. I would spend actual hours playing these every night, especially the Monster High ones. You also had the Adventure Time Princess Maker, which was super popular, as well as the Chibi Maker. My Fresh Start Makeover was also one of, if not the most popular makeover game on the site when I used to use it. It used to be everywhere. Also, Rapunzel in a Fault in Our Stars shirt. No further explanation needed. You know, if there's one thing I know about women, it's that if they're not shopping for clothes and makeup, they're in the kitchen. Thankfully, Girls Go Games knew this and provided girls with a plethora of baking and cooking games. I used to really love these things as a kid, but then when I replayed them for this video, most of them are downright horrendous. Take Sarah's cooking class for example. I believe this series was a Spill Games original, and it quickly became one of Girls Go Games' original flagship series, receiving a huge number of games. It's basically budget cooking mama, and like I said, I remembered it being super engaging, but 90% of the game is painstakingly clicking and dragging items around a flat PNG of a kitchen, somehow with awful controls even though it's just a mouse. The chopping is clunky, the cooking feels like an eternity, and the recipes go on for way way too long to be enjoyable. Sarah's Kitchen wasn't the only cooking game though. Keeping in line with the intense girliness of the site, a lot of cooking games focused around desserts, specifically those of the rainbow unicorn glitter variety. There's also a game called Pizza Bar, which, oh, well, the less said about this, the better. This image looks straight out of a creepypasta. Sue's Fried Wantons. Hot Dog Bush. Is there something I'm missing here? Poe Pizza Chef. I know I've been making fun of these, but I did religiously play Poe as a kid, so I can't even be mad at them for this. You also got some certified classics like the Papa's Pizzeria series, Baby Hazel, and of course Smoot Fruity. This game kept me entertained for longer than it should have. Let's move on. Weirdly enough, GirlsGoGames has quite the selection of love-based games, and this is quite a broad category. You got your classic love tester / calculator, couple dress-ups, wedding decoration games, and dating games. There also used to be a section called kissing games, which now leads to an empty page. I guess it was too scandalous. Look, I'm not gonna lie, the only reason I included the love section is because I want to share with you possibly the greatest game of all time. It's called 7 Dates Second Meeting, and it's either an elaborate shitpost or made by someone who is not from the planet Earth. The character that you play as, Kim, is just the worst person. Mick Jagger said, "Lose your dreams and you might lose your mind." I live based on that. Who's who? Did you talking about Mick the Jaguar? Hey gorgeous girl, such a beauty, you're a goddess. Hi annoying man, Kim here. Ouch, no, my dog pees on your shoes. I'm so sorry, my pretty rose. Let me kill your dog right now. Today I got a new haircut. What do you think, Kim? Somehow you look gay with that new hairstyle. Do you know? Anime Expo 2013 will be held at LA. I wish I could be there. I believe many freaky gays will be there too. Jesus Christ, Kim. Okay, go ahead, show your true colors. Sweet girl, have you ever gone to Louvre? I believe you are my Mona Lisa. I'm not that old, and BTW, Louvre is boring as hell. Visual novel this, indie game that. Where the hell is the love for 7 Dates Second Meeting? This should be up there with the greats. If you're looking to kill 10 minutes and laugh hysterically, this game is for you. Let's move on. So skill is where all the goats come into play. Fireboy and Water Girl, bam, an absolute classic, especially if you and your friend are in the same class together. You got My Dolphin Show, another one of GirlsGoGames' original flagship series. You got Crab Ball, of course. There are a few dress-up games sprinkled in here and there, but for the most part, skill is like arcade, platform, and minigame type games. You know, games that require skill. Not much to touch on here. I will, however, mention that I was obsessed with a game called Ponywood, where you basically play as a pony against another opponent and try to blow each other up. I'm using footage off YouTube because this game A isn't on the website anymore and B doesn't work because of Flash Player. I do genuinely want to know if anyone else played Ponywood as a kid. Maybe we were in a match together. Another game I played a lot was Uphill Rush Water Parks, which was basically just one of these motorbike stunt racer games but set in a water park. It was basically like Happy Wheels for babies back when Happy Wheels was like the super cool and edgy thing to play. We got Fancy Pants Adventures, obviously. We got Disaster Will Strike 5. Looks like it already has. Rats Cooking. Jumping Bananas 2. I wish my thumbnails were that good. And of course, Grindcraft for Sigmas only. Before we move on, I also wanted to quickly mention the Devilish series. This was another original series by GirlsGoGames featuring an angel and a demon character in games based around dress up, pet care, hairstyling, cooking, and more. These two were jacks of all trades and weirdly kind of developed their own cult following. It's easy to find fan art and fans posting about the two, perhaps because the appeal of their designs, perhaps because of the nostalgia, or perhaps they just awakened something in these people as kids. Regardless, I figured I'd mention it since it's pretty interesting that this niche flash game series on a cheap flash game website has garnered such a following in recent times. Weird that I left simulators out of my list of categories back there. Bet you're wondering what that's about. Well, it's because most of the simulator games look like this. Now, GirlsGoGames has always relied heavily on trending topics. Back when it was first made, they made celebrity dress-ups, and over the years they've put out tons of games based around pre-existing characters. Poe, Minions, Miraculous Ladybug, Disney princesses, superheroes, all that stuff, and I have no idea how they've gotten away with such blatant copyright infringement for so long. But over the years, the this content has devolved into bizarre and disturbing simulated games often featuring graphic and gross depictions of dental procedures, surgeries, and births, detailed acne and pimple popping, women drawn crying in pain with horrible injuries, hideous throat and mouth diseases, and more. In these games focusing around pregnancy or medical emergencies, the characters are often sexualized in bizarre and uncomfortable ways. These are kids games, and yet all of them feel like weird, gross fetish content. These games somewhat tie into the scandal known as Elsagate, the bizarre phenomenon of extremely inappropriate videos of Elsa and other licensed characters recommended to kids on YouTube. These videos often feature bizarre medical play, extreme violence, and borderline graphic content. Now, I don't even have time to get into the rabbit hole that is Elsagate and all of that stuff, but the point is that after those videos began getting really popular, games started coming out as well in that same style and were equally popular. After the rising success of the YouTube videos, which would often gain millions of views, these basic low-budget bootleg games began popping up left and right, proving to be just as popular as they began to flood websites like GirlsGoGames. Obviously, it's been pointed out time and time again that this kind of content is inappropriate for children and borderline fetish material, but with the site's history of hopping on bandwagons for money, I don't think they're gonna stop anytime soon. Now, I probably don't need to tell you about the death of Flash because more than likely you were there for it. Most browser games on the early internet ran on Flash Player, that's why they're called Flash games, but in January of 2021, Flash Player was disabled, meaning that potentially thousands of pieces of Flash media were lost. Thankfully, many people have worked tirelessly to save these games. In my Warrior Cats video, I mentioned a game maker called The Kitten Maker by Chimera, and one of my patrons actually sent me a link to a working version of it. But many sites that relied on Flash have become broken, and you can see the toll that this has taken on GirlsGoGames. Most of the classic games that we grew up with are unplayable, though a few have survived the Flash purge. 7 Dates Second Meeting comes to mind if you're looking for something to play. It's kind of weird. On the surface, the site is filled with all these warm, fuzzy, nostalgic games and childhood memories, but in reality, it's all empty. Most of the games you click on will be broken or inaccessible, and in a way, I find it pretty sad. Despite how low quality a lot of these games were in retrospect, this place holds a lot of fond memories for me of being a kid on the internet. You know, back when life was simpler and when the internet felt like an adventure filled with games and friends and blingy stickers. Maybe seeing your childhood through the lens of video games and trashy online websites is sad or reflective of our generation's obsession with technology or whatever, but ultimately it is what it is, and I know I'm not the only one who has this deep connection to the internet of the 2000s. I guess at the heart of it, revisiting these sites that I played as a kid and seeing them as shells of their former selves, it makes me realize that I'm not the same person I once was either. And I wish I could go back to being 12 years old, playing Ponywood on the family PC before watching Malcolm in the Middle or Simpsons reruns on a tiny little square TV, and the only thing I had to worry about was which song I was going to use for my Warrior Cats AMV or if GirlsGoGames had any new Monster High dress-ups, but I can't go back to those days and it sucks. I don't mean to get sappy over a goofy collection of 2000s Flash games, but you know, sometimes that bittersweet nostalgia hits you out of left field. Was GirlsGoGames a masterpiece? No. Did they have problematic content that children probably shouldn't have been exposed to? Yeah. Were 90% of the games poorly made Disney Doctor games? Yes. But the site holds a lot of fond memories for kids who grew up on the internet in the 2000s, and I'm sure many of you have fond memories of the site yourself. So goodbye Devilish Girlfriends, goodbye Shopaholic, goodbye Uphill Rush, Ponywood, Fancy Pants, Po Pizza Chef, Sarah's Cooking Class, and Snail Bob. Goodbye Celeste in the City. Actually kind of glad to be saying goodbye, this looks fucking scary as shit. Goodbye GirlsGoGames. You were kind of shit, but you helped pass the time in class. Thank you guys so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I know this is a little bit different from what I usually do, it's a bit more sort of me talking about something that I like. But you know, I also tried to include some history in there because stuff like this genuinely interests me and I hope to do more of it, so if you have any suggestions, definitely let me know. And also, yeah, like I said, didn't mean to get too dark there at the end, but you know, sometimes I feel like it's important to include some personal context for the subjects that you're talking about, so there you go. Once again, thank you so much to Casetify for sponsoring me. I'm genuinely stoked with my cases and I'm kind of thinking of ordering more, so definitely go check them out. Thank you all so much for supporting me and watching and everything, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you so much to my Garfield overlords over on Patreon, and I just want to give a special thank you to CyberKitty. I accidentally left your name out of the credits last time. Very sorry about the mistake, so thank you CyberKitty for being a patron, and now I'm going to read out the names of my Garfield overlords. Thank you to Samsung Account, Doug, Agarafin, Finley, Boysenberry Switchblade, Brianna Robinson, Charlie B, Jesse Chisholm, Arcantilus, Dana Homegardner, Pom, Vampiric Misfit, Kimono My Gyro, Tyson, Chicory, Helm Hamburger Hand, Jono Charles Davey, John Leach, Jordan Nielsen, Joe Bradshaw, Astrian Vortex, Moth Them, Missy Pendragon, The Fabulibrarian, Red Meth, Dozo Blint, Simon, Sophie Skidder, Grip Gunderson, SHSL Tsunsun, Xavier Araujo, Lady Cerebellum, and Sheriff Whiskey. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, it means the world. If you want to join these guys on Patreon, the link will be in the description, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!